I could call this place home. Chapter 3, Thunderstorms Can't Hurt You. Safe in your bed. The rain beating down on the roof was a soothing sound to Knuckles. Summer storms were a regular part of life in Green Hills, and on this particular night, the Wachowski household had sat down for a weekly movie night when the storm started to rain down. Earlier in the night, Tails had fallen asleep, easing into Maddie's lap as the movie droned on in the background. Once the movie was over, it was late, and even Sonic, with his endless energy supply, had started to yawn. Maddie had carried Tails up to the attic where the three boys slept, tucked the fox in, and retired to bed after giving each of the boys a good-night kiss. Knuckles had laid down in his new bed, face up, and listened to the droning sound of the rain. There he was now, in the same position. The lights downstairs had already turned off one by one. The house was quiet and dark. The Echidna stared up at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. It wasn't a matter of insomnia or anxiety. He just couldn't. His body wasn't used to the sleep sigils of his new family yet. And what would happen if a burglar or some other threat to the house happened to attack while the family was asleep, and Knuckles wasn't conscious of their arrival? He would learn to fall asleep like the others, in time. A flash of lightning lit up the darkness of the quiet attic, followed by a deep rumble of thunder from the skies above. The sound made Knuckles' fur stand on end, not necessarily in fear. The rumbling of the thunder was welcome. It reminded him of his homeworld, in some abstract way he couldn't put into words. The distant sound made him feel grounded in a way that he often found himself lacking while adjusting to life on Earth. The sound of the rain was another sound that calmed him in this way. Knuckles lay there, feeling the soothing rumble of the thunder, listening to the drumming of rain on the roof, watching the water wash over the large circular window on the ceiling. During a rainstorm like this, even the unfamiliar smell of the attic made him feel truly at home. Another flash of lightning illuminated the room, followed by another peal of thunder. This time, however, the sound was accompanied by another. Knuckles heard the rustle of a blanket nearby, and a sharp breath. The rumbling of the thunder dragged out for a few more seconds, and the rustling came again, with a sniffle. Knuckles turned his head in the direction of the other two boys' beds. He could only make out the silhouettes of the figures in their respective beds in the darkness of the attic. After another burst of lightning, however, he could just see clear movement as one of Tails' ears twitched, then flattened against his head. The next peal of thunder was followed by a whine from under the fox covers as he pulled them closer. The Echidna sat up in his bed. The sound of the covers moving in the quiet room made Tails freeze, going silent at the indication that someone heard him. As Knuckles stood up and walked over to the smaller fox bed, he made an effort to step lightly. He had woken up Tom and Maddie with his heavy footsteps before. The wooden floorboards still squeaked slightly as he padded his way over. Tails' ears were poking out from under his blanket, and as Knuckles stopped on the side of his bed, he uncovered his eyes and peered over the hem of the blanket at the Echidna.
Hey, Knuckles!
The fox tried to hide the tremble in his voice.
Why are you out so late?
I would ask you the same thing, Fox.
Knuckles kept his voice quiet, as to not wake Sonic, who was sleeping soundly only a few feet away. Tails avoided eye contact with Knuckles as he sat up. The boy was shaking, and as another salvo of thunder pierced through the quiet, he brought one of his tails to his chest and gripped it tight in his hands.
I dunno, I couldn't sleep.
Because of the storm.
The fox was silent. Knuckles climbed onto the bed and sat beside Tails, who didn't protest. He only curled up to himself closer, almost into a ball.
I'm not sure why the clouds are making these sounds, but I admit it can be jarring.
Knuckles tried to comfort the fox. Tails shifted his fluffy tails closer to his chest.
I know all about the weather patterns on Earth.
He mumbled into his orange fur. Whoop.
The burst of energy caused by a lightning strike causes a shock, as if it's the cold air in the clouds, and the resulting discharge makes a rumbling sound.
Another rumble shook the room.
It's just shock with caused by electricity in the air.
He sniffled.
Why is it so scary?
Knuckles reached over and laid a hand on top of Tails' head, moving his thumb in a circle behind his right ear. The fox didn't move from his curled-up position, but Knuckles could hear his breathing steadying at the gentle pressure.
It's okay to be afraid.
He said in a low voice.
It's a very big sound, and you are a very small fox.
Tails' shoulders shook as he let out a quiet snicker.
I'm not that small, am I?
He turned to look at Knuckles.
Yes, you are.
The Echidna replied, not changing his expression. Tails grinned. He turned around in his bed, leaning his forehead against Knuckles' shoulder. The two boys lay side by side, set up against Tails' pillow, watching the rain wash over the skylight, which was letting in the faintest gray light. The rain continued to drum against the roof, droning on long after the last peal of thunder went out. The sound of water running through the gutters, down the sides of streets, into the flower pots on the back porch, into puddles on the baseball field, and down the panes of the window made Knuckles feel at peace. When he glanced over at Tails again, his eyes were shut, his nose blowing air softly against Knuckles' fur. He brought the blanket gently to the fox's shoulders, and closed his eyes. The drone of the rain continued until the Echidna was lulled into a cool, lulling sleep.